Ben 10 gets framed, and he didn't even do anything, at least this time. Well, in this video, I talk about Season 2, Episode 3, Framed, where Ben 10 gets framed when someone who looks like his alien transformations starts to go on a rampage and starts committing crimes. So Ben has to save face and find out who's trying to make him out to look like a bad guy. I also talk about the parallels of Ben and Kevin Levin, and talk about the episode more in depth. So sit back, crack open a beer if you're legally able to do that, and let's talk about Ben 10. Let's go! The episode starts with Ben chilling in a line, and Gwen and Grandpa go to a bookstore and return to see Four Arms committing the worst crime ever in human history, property damage, and also attempted murder. But spoiler warning, it's Kevin Levin. Yeah, who saw that coming? Yeah. After Four Arms jumps away, Gwen and Grandpa ask Ben what's he doing, and Ben, the pro himself, doesn't confess to anything. Never confess to your crimes, kids, okay? Never confess. So, they go to investigate to find out that Kevin is the one framing Ben. After the events of Season 1, Kevin is now in a state where he's stuck as an alien for most of the time, and he can't be human for long. Now, Kevin has accepted that this is all his fault due to his own greed, and all these things that he's done is to get Ben's attention, to apologize and make amends for his actions. I'm kidding. That's not what happened at all. Kevin can't get character development until Alien Force. So what actually happened is Kevin basically is like, I'm gonna frame you and ruin your entire life. So then he disappears, and then we skip to the climax of the episode where we see Kevin trying to take down a bridge for literally no reason at all. Sorry, I'm sick, by the way. Oh my gosh. So Ben goes up there and we get to see an awesome fight scene. Kevin gets little broed by Ben, and he gets so mad he turns into his mutated final form. Kevin then beats up Ben and is about to kill him. I forgot how brutal young Kevin was. He was all up for killing hundreds of innocent people, killing Lieutenant Steele, and he was fully ready to kill Gwen and Ben. Kevin was pulling literally no punches. He was a literal savage. But Kevin is about to kill Ben when Lieutenant Steele gives the order to shoot Kevin, and Kevin falls down into the lake and is never seen again. Well, until a few episodes later, but you catch my drift. That's the 22-minute episode recapped for you, and I'm gonna speak about my thoughts on the episode. First off, why is Gwen so convinced that Ben would go try to kill her and multiple innocent people? She didn't give Ben the benefit of the doubt. She was like guilty until proven innocent, and I can't understand her thinking Ben would do this. Also, did Grandpa Max and Gwen never see that Four Armed in the beginning of the episode had no Omnitrix? Did Gwen also not see that Heat Blast also didn't have an Omnitrix? Are you blind? Like, do you not see there's no Omnitrix? This is when Gwen and Ben's sibling rivalry, or whatever you want to call it, gets out of hand, and I think they start acting out of character because they can't just let them interact as like cool siblings who like each other. They always have to hate each other and always make fun of each other. Ben may not be a saint, but like he isn't the devil either. He wouldn't just go out and commit property damage and try to kill multiple people for literally no reason. So I think it just makes them act out of character, and I personally don't like it. Another thing about this episode is Lieutenant Steele and his whole alien task force come out of nowhere, and they never appear again, aside from one dream episode. It would have been cool to see more of Steele and have an entire arc centered around them. It would also be amazing to see like the public's reaction to aliens more, and what the government thinks about aliens, because I feel like an alien task force would go hand in hand with that notion. But that's more of a series problem than this episode problem, in my opinion. Man, my throat is just going downhill, like, yeah. Now onto the rivalry between Ben and Kevin. If you haven't seen my Ben 10 and Kevin Levin two sides of the same coin video, I recommend watching that, but it isn't necessary. Also, I have like a monotone voice, so who cares? Basically, Ben and Kevin are two sides of the same coin, both young boys with superpowers that if used incorrectly could be very deadly. The thing that separates them is their upbringing and moral compass. Kevin was treated like a freak and lived in New York by himself, compared to Ben, who's always been supported by his family and was taught the morally right way to use his powers. They're both the same concept, but when it comes to their actual character and personality, they're completely different. This is because of their values and upbringing. They're just two completely different characters. That's why they're two sides of the same coin. This episode expands on that, with Kevin now being in his alien form most of the time, compared to Ben, who's in his human form most of the time. This all happened due to Kevin's greed to have money and to be powerful enough so no one can call him a freak again, and due to what he did last season, he's now stuck as a monster most of the time. His greed and oh my gosh, led him to not only being a monster inside, but also being a monster on the outside too. And because Kevin Levin can't take responsibility for his actions, he blames Ben and tries to ruin Ben's image. Honestly, I'd probably do the same thing because I'm extremely bitter. But I think Kevin Levin takes it just a little too far for me, I guess. This episode was great for Kevin. I also just love seeing Kevin in Ben 10 because he's one of my most favorite characters in Ben 10. This episode was great for Ben because Ben was able to grow and realize Kevin was never worth the hassle. When Ben said Kevin wasn't worth it, that triggered Kevin so much he turned into his mutated form. He probably got mad because another person in his life thought that he wasn't worth the hassle, that he wasn't worth anything at all. Or maybe I'm looking a little bit too deep into a cartoon, but you know, who cares? Who cares? I don't care. You're watching this far into the video, so you must like cartoons some bit, I guess. This episode does have a few problems, like Gwen acting out of character and Lieutenant Steele just disappears like the average American dad. But even with these problems, this episode is still enjoyable, and it has Kevin flippin' Levin. So overall, this episode is good, and is a must-watch for a Ben 10 binge. The fights are good, and we get to see alien fights, and alien fights are always cool. Wish you got to see more of Kevin in his pseudo-master control state. It's pretty cool and great for battle. It would just been cool to see, honestly, because it's just basically his version of master control. But we got the iconic mutated form instead, so I guess that's good enough. So with that, I have nothing more to yap about, so click that subscribe button. I think I'm obligated to say that. And like and comment whatever you want. I may reply or ghost you. So with that, I'm like the Ben 10 franchise, and I'm gone.